Yeah. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. Hi, Courtney.
Hi. Nice to meet with you.
Okay. So let's backpedal a bit because you've got a whole lot to share.
Yeah, quite the story.
Inspiring and talented, and you got a whole bunch of different pieces to this puzzle. So wherever you want to start, let's do it.
It's been such a winding road to get to this place that it's like important to know some of the chapters. I pretty much was singing and writing songs for as long as I can remember. There's a video of me singing at 3.5 months old in my sleep in my swing. I was putting my poems that I started writing around 10 to the piano around 14 and guitar, and I was in plays, and I just always knew I wanted to be in music or I wanted to act. I just wanted to move people's soul through the art of emotion in creativity. Take your own advice. This is Strong Girl. Took me for a fool, and I let you succeed. But darling, I make the rules now, and you just can't let me. Been so naive for so long, tricked me with your eyes. I can't believe I'm so wrong to fall into your lies. But I'm a strong girl now, won't let your words affect me. Let myself fall apart. It's the last time you reject me. Never gonna let you close to me, even though you mean the most to me. 'Cause every time I open up it hurts. Never gonna get too close to you, even though I mean the most to you. In case you gon' leave me in the dirt. 'Cause every time you hurt me, the less that I cry. Every time you leave me, the quicker these tears dry. And every time you walk out, the less I love you. Baby, we don't stand a chance. It's sad, but it's true. I'm way too good at goodbyes. I'm way too good at goodbyes. No way that you'll see me cry. I'm way too good at goodbyes. And I had this purpose, I really wanted to heal people with music. I really wanted to help them in this way. And because I was I have this talent, this gift, this is how I have to use it. And over the years that's evolved a lot, but the way it evolved was so much directed and guided by different things that came across my path. But I moved to Manhattan when I was 18 and went to Marymount Manhattan as an acting major, musical theater minor, and realized I want to do acting and music separately. And so I kind of chased after the music with full focus for I think a solid 10 years. Did some really cool things, was signed to Jay-Z's label RocNation, and wrote with some really cool people and created amazing music. Had lots of music that I still haven't put out yet, but I also in New York, I was a fitness model. I shot campaigns for Nike, Athleta, Reebok. It was really cool to embody strength over fashion, to be able to inspire people to exercise to stay healthy and happy, not to look skinny so that you can fit into society. And I always kind of saw my body as a vessel of I've been given this vessel to serve a purpose with it. So I never really identified with my looks in that way. It was more let me use this tool that I have. which was really interesting because like I wear my heart on my sleeve, and like rejection is like a lot to get on a daily basis. But you know, I somehow just kept on going through continuous, like it was hard work, but I just was so focused on my purpose with it. And then I eventually moved down to Nashville. Spent like 3 or 4 years there. And that was like the first relationship. I made the mistake of dating my producer. I did one of those moves, which is never really like the most productive. But ultimately, like, you know, you're such close friends. It's such an intimate thing. One thing leads to another. You realize you are like very different personalities, and that is like the first one that like was not okay as like boundary crossing, which didn't realize I didn't have those.
He
like
did it before?
I'm sorry?
Did he do that before? Like with anyone else, do you know?
I don't know. I don't know to speak too much to his relationships. I was a little bit more able to like remove myself from that particular situation by like giving up my music and everything, just to like go and heal myself. So I feel like because all of that was everything in one, it was like music, it was love, it was like everything I'd put my whole heart and soul into, that exploding and feeling like
well, kind of probably who am I? Like, because music, I know you, like I remember the modeling stuff, and I remember the music. Like I remember coming to your shows. I remember you trying to really, you know, go with that. And I remember at one point that was, you know, that is your thing. Like, and you're so talented.
All I thought I was meant to do.
Yeah. So it's so wild to hear that you felt like you know, you had to give it up to get away from him, essentially.
Yeah. Well, we had gotten into a situation where he had produced like all of my music. I felt indebted to him in terms of having worked on all of it with him, and didn't really like give myself the freedom to go branch out and work with lots of people. I'm so loyal throughout this story. It's like, can you be loyal to yourself for a second? Jesus. But ultimately, like, you know, it's not a terrible quality. It's just, you know, I need to like codependency and boundaries are things that I discovered along this path that I could improve upon.
But at least you realize it sooner than later.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, you're young. We're young. Like, to realize these things.
Yeah.
As opposed to being in your 50s, 60s, like.
Fair. It's been a couple brutal, like, knockdowns, though.
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Because there was that, like, that was my identity. And then I felt like I needed to move away from that and, like, find who I am. Because the thing about entertainment business is it's so much to do with this outward projection of being seen, being comfortable with it, and accepting however anyone else wants to like throw that back at you. So it takes like a lot of courage to be seen, and then it also takes a lot of creativity and inspiration and like fortitude, and then there's like, you know, financially keeping yourself stable through the process. So I was like working as a nanny for 5 different kids, 2 families, and like running to go work at the restaurant on the weekends, and then coming home and like recording in my second bedroom in between. And it was not sustainable. And I would just put my like all into it. And I did not like legally inclined to talk about some of the things that I experienced, but throughout my journey, I had to stand up for myself in many different ways. In my professional career as a singer, in my marriage, and through like recognizing that the boundaries need to be set first within myself. So there's like a certain degree of like, you can blame other people all you want, but that doesn't end up making you choose a different path in the future. So I kind of went from like this lost sense of self in music to
I just kind of fell into this one relationship. It was like, I went from like things being a little bit physical and emotionally not okay to them being like emotionally like not okay, like looking through my phone and stuff. And that was a pretty fast relationship, but like we traveled to so many places, so it just had such a big impact on me. And like there was a time he like threw my phone against the wall in Germany because he was upset that I had slept with a black person. So like some of these things started to become very confusing.
Like even before you knew him, kind of thing.
Yeah, how was I with someone who didn't reflect the values that I stand true to?
Yeah.
And how did I not see that in these people? Kind of like an unfortunate truth. But then when it comes to having really fled from all of that, trying to like redefine myself and feeling like, okay, really rock bottom, like, I don't have any boundaries. Like, I don't know who I want to be now. Music feels like A plus B doesn't equal C. And there's like, I don't understand how to pick the pieces back up and just keep pushing that when I know like my ultimate goal of having a family can't be fulfilled if I can't sustain my own sense of life. So, and through like through the entertainment industry, there's so much judgment of who you are. And so you end up like trying to shape yourself around whoever you need to be, model number 3 with blonde hair, like, and like just whoever it is, like they don't want you to talk about all the things that you do either. So you have to kind of like stay in that vein of what someone expects out of you. And it doesn't bode well for like relationship building either, because then of course you don't have those guidelines of like who you are. So it's very vulnerable to talk about these things. I'm like pretty nervous and embarrassed about it, but I'm also
why?
Like,
Think you're so many women face all these different things all the time and no one's talking about it, which is a big problem. And you're setting like a precedent to some extent of like, okay, I've lived through it, I've learned from it. And a lot like, who do you turn to? Think about it. Who did you have to turn to? Exactly.
Yeah. I didn't have like especially through the entertainment business, I didn't have anyone who really knew what they were doing. Yeah. I think it's okay. There's a lot of people who tried. I so appreciate them for it.
Yeah.
But you know, I just wasn't guided in the industry in that way, and so there was a lot of like having to stand up for certain morals that you weren't willing to cross. Like I wasn't willing to sleep my way to the top. Like I just choose to only sleep with people that I'm attracted to or have feelings for or I'm in love with, like just kind of a rule of thumb for me.
Well, that's why it's so crazy is for some women or men, it's not. Yeah. And it really makes you wonder, well, it makes you question everything. Am I crazy? Like, is it worth it? Isn't it worth it? Because you see, living in New York, and I'm sure Nashville or wherever, you see people do crazy things. And you think, well, I could do that, but I have morals. Yeah. Or, like, is it worth it? Isn't it worth it? Yeah. Who knows? Because maybe they're happy after, like, they get what they want. Or maybe they're never happy. They're probably never happy if this is what they have to do.
And power to them if they were able to just kind of use what they've got and get where they want to be and they have no qualms with it. I mean, that's awesome too. I think I'm just a little too sensitive.
Yeah, totally. You're right. I feel it. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I feel like that desire to help people, like, it's, like, rooted deep, and I thought my vehicle was music and acting, and I thought that was what I had to do because I was good at it, and I was making a living at it, but ultimately, I just had to redefine myself. It imploded. I was like, this version of who I am has to grow, or like it's like do or die. So my sister was actually living out in Utah at the time, and she's a scientist. She was working at New Skin. Now she's at doTERRA. But she was like, just come out here. You might like it. So I came out there, and honestly, like, I'm the kind of person who gets back on the horse, right? Like, I'm not just like, I'm never going to love again. Like, no, I trust that someone will come into my life who matches my frequency, and maybe my frequency was a little damaged still. So, okay, fair. But I got to Utah and I met this guy like all at the same time, and yeah, that chapter was like the worst of all of them. It was like in threes, right?
They say they come in threes.
So I mean, I was very focused. I thought I was good at figuring these things out. Now I thought I was like, ooh, I'm getting boundaries. I put myself back in college. I put myself through Arizona State University with a 4.29 GPA in 2.5 years at Arizona
Smarty
State University.
pants.
And I am really proud of that because I did it amidst being promoted to marketing director because I wanted to get in that field. So I started at one company and then grew to like be running 7 different companies under that umbrella. And it was really cool to challenge myself and see, like, I always thought I was the beauty. I was always told I was the beauty and my sister's the brain. So I didn't really like count on the fact that I could do something here.
Well, you can, obviously.
But all of a sudden I was like, I'm smart. Look at this. This is awesome.
And what kind of insult is it to your sister?
What?
I said, what kind of insult is that to your sister? You guys probably look alike.
Well, we look very similar. It's just, I mean, honestly, I love my dad, but he would say these things that are like very sarcastic and like, we're from Jersey, so they're really like blunt, and it's like not the most productive parenting. But my sister is brilliant. She is super brilliant. So it's true too. She is brilliant. But yeah, I put myself through school and I'd met this guy. So I kind of like, I thought things were falling into place, right? I was like, well, no, I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to advance in this company. Like, I'm getting my feet on the ground. I've healed all these things. But he was like so good at hiding who he was. Like, he was extremely charismatic. It wasn't until the day, so we got married in a COVID wedding. We dated for 1.5 years. Married in a COVID wedding because that was like, well, we might as well like not do it or do it. But we were already building a house that I had bought the land for, $181,000, bought the land. And then this man tricked me in my prenup. And it's very frustrating because I trusted him in all of these ways. I let lots of these decisions get made, and like, I really blame myself for not seeing past it. But like 2 months into our marriage, he starts like cursing me out all the time. Yes, building a home, very stressful. Totally get it. But I was designing the home. I was like managing contractors. I was setting up interviews with them. I was at work sometimes while I was doing this. I was raising a puppy, getting my degree.
You were doing the stressful things, basically.
I'm doing stressful things too.
Yeah.
Like lots of stressful things going on. It's just like you support each other, right? Yeah. But I'd found out the day before we got married in this COVID wedding that he had actually been going through a divorce while we were living together, and I didn't even know he was married. And I found this out because as we pulled up to the get our marriage certificate for the COVID wedding, the lady on the phone is like talking about his divorce, and I hear her, and he starts to turn the volume down, and I'm like, you were married?
No, let me listen. What? That's crazy.
Yeah, and first moment of just being super blind, he said, I wanted you to believe you're the first one. It was a green card wedding. Like, I never cared about her, whatever. Of course, her story is completely different, and she left him because he hit her dog, but, you know.
Oh, my God.
So that was like, there were some little red flags. Like, he would film me while I was crying.
Why?
And being from the entertainment business, that really impacted me. And he would be like, I'm doing this because I want to show you how crazy you're being. And I, like, the pathological, like, the way that he was, like, starting to twist my brain, man, I just never saw it coming. So, like, 2 months into us being married, he starts cursing me out all the time. He's like, just wait till the home build's done. And I'm like, okay, I guess it's normal. Like, he's stressed. But then by the time the home bill was done, like, of course, didn't stop. Then we went to go get our puppy. That was the first time things, like, got physical. And from there, it was like 8 or 9 months that I didn't tell anyone that this man was like strangling me. He was dragging me across the kitchen by my neck. He smashed my head into the floor. He held my head underwater in a bathtub and then picked me up by my hair naked and pulled me out and strangled me. Like, I don't care what we were fighting about. Like,
You don't.
none of it ever mattered. But
Yeah.
you just don't do any of these things. I don't care like what bad communication you have.
Yeah, there's no reason. There's
You
no.
need to figure out how to make.
Oh my
So-
God, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the whole boundary lesson expanded over time. So I like lost myself in building myself up in my music career. I lost myself, and then like through losing that, I like lost everything, and then wanting to cling to something, like thinking that I found it in wanting a family, building like the empire with this person, like literally built and designed my dream home, even the landscaping. It was a slope when we bought the property. Like, so proud of what I did there. And like never got to enjoy it. Every corner of that house I have like a haunting memory. We'd fight over things like if I bought too much orange juice, or if there was a bubble on the counter, or if there was a hole in the Holy Smooth wall that's literally painted and like that on purpose, and like what I did to put it there, or like what my friend did in the closet, there's a piece of paint missing. Like, these things, I've never argued with someone like I did with this person. And I haven't since, and it's been so much more peaceful.
I'm sure. What a maniac. You never
Yeah.
tried to talk to his ex?
So I didn't talk to his ex because, like, when we were getting married, like, he convinced me that, like, so he also convinced me that his mom was a problem. So, and then, of course, everyone that's, like, they were crazy. And I don't know, like, looking back, I'm like, yeah, these are red flags.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah, his mom had also told me, so, you know, he's abusive. And I was like,
That's crazy. His mom.
looking back now. But it unraveled. So, you know, built the house, got the dog, built my whole life around this entire thing. And don't know how to tell anyone the truth about what's happening. Don't want to report him. Don't want to he told me not to tell the therapist because I begged for therapy. Like, I couldn't handle it. I didn't know why I was so depressed. I felt like hate seething through my veins. I just couldn't understand what was happening to me. And it's called PTSD. I don't know. But I couldn't tell the therapist that these things had happened, or else he would get in trouble. Like, when I got a black eye, he said to say that my dog did it. And I did to 2 people, including my sister. So lying to myself, very much lying to myself.
Horrible.
Yeah. So ultimately feeling like, hey, I created this thing, and I'm just, I want to keep it. I can fix it. I can fix him. I see where he's bruised. I see where he's damaged. Like, let me try harder. Like, begging to just stop fighting all the time. Like, begging to just fix it, whatever it is. Geez, just could never.
Well, it's never good enough when it comes to those people.
Yeah, I've heard he's still arguing with people like that, so I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Thank you.
my God.
But ultimately, I remarried the man through this process of things being awful, and did my redo wedding, and planned the entire thing myself, and amidst all the things that are going on, and on our wedding night, I was intoxicated, which I protected him from getting a DUI, but now I'm like, this is what actually happened.
Mhm.
And he took off going 80 miles an hour in a 25 out the entrance of the HOA, with me on the back in a flower halo and wedding dress on our motorcycle. And just before the bike went off a cliff, we were thrown off it, and I rolled and have a 3rd-degree burn from here to here, and then here to here, and then my face and my hands and everything was just shredded. There was blacktop all throughout my leg and body, and on my wedding night, we were in the hospital. Well, I was in the hospital. He didn't want to go because he didn't want to get in trouble. But one of my friends at like 4 a.m. was like, "You're going to get sepsis. You need to go to the hospital right now and get in my car." I didn't want to get him in trouble either, because I literally said, marching back from this incident, I said, if this is what it takes to fix us, fine. Like, we are so blessed. We are so lucky we made it. Like, you can hear me in the Ring doorbell. I'm like, focus. We are so blessed right now. Like, I was just like, tunnel vision. I'm going to fix this marriage.
Oh, my. Well, if there's one thing you have, it's hope.
Oh, my gosh.
That's a good thing to have. Hope is good.
I remember seeing the ground come at me, and I was like more grateful that I was going to be on solid ground, and thank God I would be off this bike. I never even thought I was going to die, which is so interesting, but I was like, slow down, slow down, slow down. And next thing I know, I stand up, I'm like, nope, get out of the ditch, you're going to get a DUI, we need to go home right now, leave the bike, let's go. Like, no one had even seen us, and I just like hiked us out of there.
That is insane.
So fast. But, it was like a month later, we had been to the burn unit. I'm like burnt, 3rd-degree burns. They took a long time to heal. A month later, he's like strangling me and throwing my head into the car door. And I'm like, who is this person that I protected? Like,
yeah.
Ugh, I'm just disgusted with myself for not having like been honest with myself and let that happen to me. So that takes some healing, but ultimately, it was January 2022 when I was like, I fell apart in front of my family, who I had just moved there. I built them a home like 3 streets up from where I had built my home. It was like the perfect little synergy. We sold my childhood home, so there's a loss there. Then moved them over here like a month after they were here. I like unload what's going on in my life and end up moving in with my parents after I report him to the police. So it was like, I was not expecting that turn of events and felt so bad. I wanted to be taking care of them at this point. So it really sucked to have to be back into like their house. And then of course, like I had to sell my dream home. But I got the balls to report him to the police. And I had been taking pictures because the first time, like the first thing that happened was I was in the bathtub and I'd splashed water against the mirror. And we built this house, so I guess it means more to him than my body did. So he came in, he grabbed me by the back of the head, held my head underwater, like long enough for me to fear drowning, which is like probably my biggest fear, and then picked me up by my hair, dragged me out, strangled me, threw me on the floor and said, clean it up. And I was like, this can't be normal. This can't be normal. I have to take a picture. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to tell. I don't think I could tell anyone. They'll tell me to leave him. Like, I was just all kinds of like, I don't know what to do in these situations other than have evidence if I ever need it. And I actually got to the point where I was afraid he was going to kill me. And then no one would know anything, and he would just get all of the money and the life insurance that he helped me set up on myself. So there were lots of things that I was like, oh man. After I reported him, I found out he was talking to other girls on
what the fuck?
Instagram. Yeah. His sister actually sent me pictures of it, so that was really interesting. But so then I was like, I'm really done, right? I had reported him, but I begged them not to arrest him because I knew he was getting a new job. I wasn't trying to ruin his life. I just wanted someone to know if I died, like, it wasn't me. But little did I know he was like building a case against me the whole time. He was like filming me and everything.
About what? About
me being crazy. This was his goal, to be able to show, like, I think if he was able to kill me, he'd be able to show I was crazy and maybe I committed suicide or something. I think that was his ultimate goal. Like, I don't know, like, the way that he was building a case against me, like, for example, I told the therapist I was going to the therapist. I couldn't tell her that this was going on, so I was just like crying so much. She didn't know what else to say, so she's like, maybe you have some tendencies of borderline personality disorder. And so then I'm reading about this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I have this. I text this to him. I was like, I think I have this. I don't know, like, I feel like I don't have any self-worth, like some of these things are true. And he took screenshots of that, and he used it against me months later. So it was really interesting.
What a piece of shit, this dude.
Yeah. So the unfolding of the 2022 is quite complex. But ultimately, like, I did everything to shoot myself in the foot and try to protect him at the same time. So I left the house so they didn't arrest him. They said, if you leave the house, like, we won't arrest him, but we have to send the charges down. So they took an entire year to process. And through that process, I had nothing to protect me. He put a protective order on me because I hadn't put one, because I wasn't trying to get him in trouble. This whole thing, I just ultimately, I didn't know what I was doing. I've never done anything like this before. I've never charged anyone. But then I couldn't get into my own house to get my own things. And then after like 10 hours of mediation, he was like, you can't come back and get anything you haven't already asked for in order to sign. And I wanted to sign. I wanted out of a marriage with this man. So I signed. And then he used everything I forgot to like lord over me. Like, I won't give you that painting if you don't come clean the house, or you have to go on this walk with Rex, or I'm not going to give you that. Rex is our dog, my dog. Or else I won't give you this or that, whatever. So it was an excruciating process. And I went through this whole experience after having met the person I'm with now. And I met him because, like, 2 months into having reported him, my yoga teacher, actually, I was telling him about it because my ex kept showing up there. It was stalking me. Like, I was panicking every time I saw him. This is my place of peace. And he was like, oh, honey, you just need to move on. I was like, I'm still married. Charges are pending against my ex-husband. But yeah, I can move on, like,
Good
right
idea.
now. What am I waiting for?
Oh my God.
So through the process of, like, my ex trying to win me back, showing up places, trying to read me love letters, and
Be crazy, basically.
You know, real crazy stalkery. My boyfriend, it was like God was showing me what a man looks like and what, like, a child in a man's body looks like, and, like, who are you going to choose to be now? And it was finally in terms of love, like, the biggest gift I could ever ask for. So I feel really grateful for anything to have fallen apart the way it did to have him. It's like he's completely changed my life. We're going to get there like a year and a half now, and he is, like, our communication is amazing. We both have boundaries, so we know, like, how to work together. We know what our limits are. We know we need to alone time. Like, we don't say things that are cutting. Like, there's so much we've both learned through our trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Son Cleo is, like, he's just the best. We've gotten really close, and so we're this cute little family now. And my dog Rex. I don't know if you can see him back there, but
I saw him rolling around earlier. He's adorable.
He's the best. But through all of these trials, I've, like, come to a place of, like, really just wanting to help people find a sense of stability. And it doesn't get easier to get back up in general, but ultimately, like, the love is worth it. So the ability to get to continue to love, to find love, and to hold it, like, man, it makes it all make sense. I don't know that, like, there's, like, any real way to avoid some of these challenges other than always listening to that inner voice. I mean, my version of inner voice is God, and I don't think I would have kept this hope alive and been able to fight as hard as I did for so many things without having felt like I was guided in some way. So I'm deeply grateful that, like, things have fallen apart and fallen together. I've been helping people with their financial plan, and I'm like in this position of like helping people grow their businesses and empower themselves and like strategize saving effectively. And it's really interesting that all of these things have conspired because I like never saw myself as this like, I mean, ultimately I'm a people person. I'm not a money person. So for me, it's more about like protecting someone's money so that they can thrive, because I know they need it as a vehicle. But it's been really cool to be in this intimate part of people's lives, and these conversations turn a little bit into like a therapy session of like just inspiring people that, hey, it's not that hard. Like you can set aside a specific like quantity of what you're doing in order to plan for your long-term goals, and you don't have to be afraid of your long-term goals. I used to be so afraid of like a backup plan when I was in music, or being afraid of like telling people that I am so many things, because you know, I've been everything from someone in finance to marketing director to singer, songwriter, actress, model. Like there's lots of things I can do, and I don't want to feel limited, and we shouldn't. Ultimately, we should feel empowered to use all of our tools. So when it comes to music, I'm more of in a place of I am loving using that tool for myself and for the purpose that is meant for it. I feel like as I'm working with artists in Nashville and everything over Zoom calls and still writing, I'm finding like how that story is supposed to still unfold. But when it comes to like figuring out life, I feel like I limited myself by thinking I could only be certain things, and I had to stay only in that lane. But women are incredibly capable of like so many things. We were talking earlier about giving birth. It's like just a part of nature, a part of what we do. But because we've been telling ourselves that we don't sit in these roles of helping women empower their finances, or we don't sit in these roles of director, we haven't known all of the capabilities we have. I mean, I love just looking at an Asana calendar. Like planning 3 months ahead is like so comforting to me. So I feel like there's nothing that we can't do.
Oh, that's amazing. I think that
that's been a lot.
Yeah, no, it is, but it's good stuff, because I think that so few people have just a thing. And there's that saying, fake it till you make it. But it's like you have to do all these side hustles and like all these things to get yourself situated into that thing. And it's almost like when you have so many interests and you're good at so many things, or you know, you're being called to do multiple things, it's really hard just to do that thing when there's all these other things. So I think that it is a good reminder that like it's okay to do all these things, because it is. And no one, I mean, I guess some people don't have anything, maybe, I don't know, but and now I think with social media, with the way things are, there's just so many options.
Yeah. And you could do as much as you want or as little as you want too. Like you don't have to post on social media unless of course you have like a goal or you just want to share. Like you don't have to invest in all of the societal needs and claims, but you also don't have to think that you can't pivot. Like the power of the pivot, I definitely learned that at the company I was working with, because we were like building companies to save another company and inventing ideas to like catch onto a market that was thriving. And like managing like these like the connection with the customer and like putting people into these groups of where they feel more like they're being heard. I just learned like there is the ability to hear people through whatever it is that you're doing, and hear yourself to know like how you're meant to align with them, because it can be very overwhelming to feel like you have to do all of the things. But it's equally as frustrating to feel like you can't start something new. Someone told me when I was pivoting into finance, they were like, oh, like weren't you just like doing marketing? Like you should stick to one thing. And I was like, actually I'm like a massive sponge, and I just keep consuming information, and I'm just over here dripping. You could wring me out, because I just love absorbing more and being able and capable of guiding my ship, my family's ship, and like the ships of the people I care about and I work with and my clients.
Totally.
So it's more empowering to have knowledge and information. So when you're feeling like, oh, I don't know if I should like dabble in music, it's like, well, dabbling in music or dabbling in painting or doing these things that you love, you don't have to put it in a place of, I have to create some career out of this. Yes, we all have to make money somehow. So figuring that out, sure. But like using your talents and being able to enjoy all the things that you've been gifted with, like that is like God's creation in our lives and in our hearts. And the what we see back from the way that we put out our creations is the love we receive. So that is just to be in the relationship I'm in now. I feel like, thank you for showing me that I've grown, because ultimately I don't want to have to go back to any of the places that I've been. So it means the world to me to know, like, we've passed that chapter and we've passed that test.
Oh my God. Thank God. Yes. I like just hearing about it gives me goosebumps and makes my stomach turn and makes me pissed for you. So I can't even. Blech. But I had really something interesting to share, because I was talking with my grandma the other day, who's lived multiple lives. She was married for 30 some years to my grandpa, and then she got divorced, and it's actually really interesting. She didn't get divorced. Well, she did, but what happened was she's old. She's like in her 80s. She got married, or no, she had a kid at 15 with my grandpa, which back then that's kind of, I think it was even young. Maybe it was normal. I don't know. And then who's my aunt. And then they proceeded to have 3 kids. So my mom is one of them. They were together for 33 or 34 years. And she wanted to continue learning. She, even to this day in her 80s, she still takes college classes. She still is like reading books. Like she's taking these learning whatever to, learn how her cell phone works, or learn how to make sure, like we send emails back and forth, like she's with it. So when she went to my grandpa wanting a divorce, she basically just left. And she didn't take anything. She left. Like she wanted to start over. She wanted to continue learning, and he didn't want her to do that. And that was like the problem. He wanted her to be the housemaker, and she wanted to do. And she told me, and we talk, like we have a great relationship, and she told me something that I never knew, which is so interesting, and it's applicable to what you're saying, which is she was in AA for 13 years. And I go, Grandma, I didn't know you were drinking. Like, who are you? Like, and she goes, no. She's like, she didn't drink. She went because she was in a relationship with this man, and she didn't know how to get out of it. So she went to AA to learn all the steps of how to become not, because she was so codependent on him. And she didn't know how to get out of it. So she went through that for 13 years, and she said she was the only person there who wasn't married to an alcoholic or wasn't an alcoholic herself. And she used those steps to like just get out of it. And it's so crazy to me that how you can, a few points. One, continuously know someone but not know them. Like it's my grandma. I've known her my whole life. We literally have written emails. We've written handwritten letters. We talk on the phone for hours. And this is the first time I've ever heard of this. So it's so interesting to me that one, you never truly know someone. So whether it's family, your lover, your friend, whatever, it's a continual ongoing learning process. But the other thing was how you can take these different things and apply them to yourself. So like that's how she got out of her relationship. How did you what was the thing to get you out of that?
I'll be honest. My friend, I had started telling people what was going on like a week and a half before I reported him, which is not a long time, but I was telling my one friend a lot. And then one morning I was just like, I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I can't trust this person. I have no idea what he's going to do next. And she was like, the only thing left is to report him. And I didn't know when you report someone, they have to arrest him. I didn't know that it's like the state charging them. I really just, for some reason, it felt like that was what I was supposed to do. Particularly because I know for a fact he's calling himself the victim at this point still.
Oh, you knew that he was at even then?
No, now. I mean, he would tell me, stop calling yourself a victim, and he would be projecting that on me. But now I found he's like calling himself a victim, and like has lots of people thinking that like I tried to ruin his reputation, because narcissists, all they care about is their reputation, and is completely in denial about the truth of what actually commenced. So for the simple fact of, I'm grateful that I stood up for future women to come. His ex-wife didn't make a report.
She was from somewhere else? Is that why?
She was from somewhere else, yeah. I don't know. Like, her
but was
story,
she actually, or he just made that up?
No, she was going to get a green card, and apparently he convinced her to do it with him, and she was going to do it with her friend. But whatever the case is, they did get married, and they didn't tell anyone, and then he was able to rob her. So it's like
he's just doing this for money?
I think there's something going on with that. I mean, I made him like $300,000. So he like made out having, it was poetic justice when I slapped you with your own prenup. Who even comes up with a sentence like that?
That's what he said? Oh my God, what a sleaze.
That's what he said. I was like, my blood is boiling and there's nothing I can do. He's absolutely correct. I signed that prenup and ultimately I did trust you. So yes, you're exactly correct. You completely screwed me. Congratulations.
Winner.
I'm glad
Good
you feel
for
that was justice.
What? Something had to happen to him. No? Like to be such a narcissist?
His mom had left his dad because of physical abuse when he was a kid, but he like denies it to the nth degree. His sister doesn't. She knows that it happened, but she's all kinds of not okay. Like she like attacks me, and now she's blocked, but like just randomly, but then she'll be like my best friend. I don't know what's going on there.
So she's got everyone's got a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I loved his mom. Apparently that's where all the problems come from all of them, if you were to talk to them, but I loved his mom. I still miss her. And I love his family. His family, his extended family is amazing. So, I don't know. I miss lots of aspects of that, and it's so hard to forgive myself for trusting him and taking it and not being able to fix it ultimately. But also, like, mourning the loss of the man I thought he was, marrying someone and them turning out to be like a monster is pretty awful to experience. But so to your question, it was actually the cops who convinced me that this is physical abuse. It's not okay. And like, we have to charge him. Like, I begged them for like 3 hours not to charge him. But
now you would say charge him, or no, you don't care?
Now, well, yeah. So, like, the unwinding of the manipulated mind over the course of his love bombing to try to get me back, seeing a man who's like stable and healthy, recognizing like the unhealthy patterns and trends and like things that weren't okay, like through like a lot of therapy where they explained to me that it's PTSD and I'm okay.
Your therapist now knows what actually happened.
Yeah, so the state awarded me 25 sessions, which was it's such a gift. So having worked through all that, like, and you know, it's an ongoing process. I am ultimately like, trusting yourself again is hard. So rebuilding up that muscle and just doing my best to like show up for others in a way that makes me feel empowered to have the gift of life, because like I should have died on my wedding night. I should have died when he smashed my head into the floor. I could have died like all these other times. So just trying to like be a light in this world and show up in a way that like respects that I got a second chance, the opportunity to build a life with like just such a delicious human who also is like so amazing at communicating and just the best partner ever, and like the ability to be able to have a family, like moving forward from so much loss, because we also sold my Pennsylvania house. Well, we're selling my Pennsylvania house right now because it doesn't make sense to stay over there. So sold all of my connections to all the things I love, even the home I built and dreamed of. Like lost the career and things of who I thought I was, but like coming back to what actually matters, there is nothing more powerful than just feeling safe and knowing that you can trust yourself and like being able to experience the simple pleasures. So my like purpose of realignment has been very much dedicated towards trying to make sure I'm making an impact on the world in a positive way. I have a lot of ideas of how I want to support people of domestic violence. Like, I mean, I called that like suicide hotline. I called the domestic violence hotline, like so many of them, like late at night, just like, I don't know what to do. This doesn't make any sense. I can't sleep. Like I want to fix it so badly. But I feel like the manipulated mind, it's so hard. No one can save them. No one can save you. You have to be able to save yourself. And I wasn't willing to save myself. So it wouldn't have mattered who I was telling. Because ultimately I wanted it more than I didn't know how to leave him because I loved him so much and I didn't know how to stay.
Well, the idea of him, you love the idea of what you had.
Yeah. Who I thought he was, not who he showed up as. But he kept trying to convince me that like I was supposed to stand by him through all of this, that he was stressed, and then made me feel like I was a bad wife for feeling like I needed to like find safety and space and heal. And that's just a part of it. So it's like when you're in it, like, man, it's so hard to find your way out. It's so hard.
But it's possible. You have.
Oh,
it's a web that's constantly you're untangling still.
Yes, but like thinking back to being in a puddle on the floor, like begging to stop fighting, like with every ounce of me just like wishing I could fix it. Like, man, it's so embarrassing. It's like so pathetic. Like looking back on her, I'm like, girl, get up and leave. Holy, what are you doing? He doesn't deserve all that energy. So it's frustrating. And I like want to be able to support women to remember that they don't have to take any of that. Like the idea of who someone is, that's not the contract of a relationship. Like who they show up as every day and like how they continue to court you regardless of if you're married, that, yeah, that is why you stay. Not like because someone tricked and like you built a dream home and you like just want to keep the castle you created and think that you could ever make it resonate. A house is not a home without love in it. So that was never going to be a home.
Yeah. That's well, I'm glad you're on the other side.
Yeah. I don't know how I would have gotten out of it if I hadn't reported him, to be honest. Like, I don't know if I ever would have even faced it. So I'm not sure how to help other than, try to get him a record that gives a girl a clear warning, and try to create some kind of foundation or something that, like, support in some way. For now, my mission of that has been like helping women with their financial plan, because if you feel empowered with your finances, you don't feel as compelled to stay, which is a lot of why I've stayed in the past. Feeling like they knew better than me, or they made more than me, or like I wouldn't be able to survive without them. So the strength of having like your independence, very much like foundational
Yeah.
to mental health.
Yeah, I actually was just talking with a girlfriend about this, how she was in a 8-year relationship with a guy, and then it ended, but she jumped right into another relationship, and a lot of it had to do with finances. Like, he was helping her pay her rent. They lived here in the city, and he was helping her pay her rent, and it was a whole thing, and now she's financially stable, and she's like, I just don't feel like I don't have that, I guess, need to be with someone because she can, she can hold it down, essentially.
Yeah. So speaking of boundaries, my boyfriend and I both have our own house, and we've been together a year and a half, but like we've been able to have that space of growing and understanding each other's boundaries, and our goal is to get a house together like in the next year. But generally speaking, I've done the thing where I move in to a man's space too quick before, and you start to feel like you're in their space and you lose little pieces of who you are. So it's different when it's like you're building a space together. But ultimately, I feel like moving in together too fast is really hard to understand who someone really is. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to look past certain things, and like you get to go through the whole cycle. Like if you get into an argument, you can't just step away and like go be like, is this okay? Is this what I want? Is this what I need? You can't like tap yourself into consciousness because you're still in the energy field of that person. So it's been really healthy to establish like who I am this way. And I did that through like, girl, I got a second job after I had reported him, ended up buying a house and locking at the 5% interest rate before it went up, qualified for that home the day that I got the raise and found it. And then like was able to sell the other home and move into this home on the same day. And I sold that home for like almost double what we built it for. And so ultimately like so much fell into place.
Yeah.
And so much of it took like, so yeah, maybe right away I didn't realize, oh, I need to protect myself against this person. But through the process of seeing the life that I could build and who I want to become, like I stood up last year. I stood up. And so getting to a place where I feel independent and stable to like build a relationship with someone from within my center, man, I like to think of a relationship like two trees. Like the roots and the air, like you need both. You need to be able to get the nutrients that you need and get the proper sunlight. But like when you're codependent or you feel like you need to fix someone or you're empathic or you're like someone who is like hasn't figured out good boundaries and like needs to understand how they probably need to create space for themselves, you start to bend into this other person and then they're feeding off of it, but like you're dying. And that was definitely where I had gotten to. So like dragging yourself out of like an inversion like that, it's really hard, but you just got to shoot yourself back up. And like just the dedication of like, I am going to soberly walk towards this next goal because I have to, because I'm not going to take that anymore, because I got to live, because I got a second chance to stand back up. And I like to think like friends too, like they can't fix your problems for you. They can't save you. They deserve a friend who's going to stand themselves back up. So that's kind of who I've become now.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, thanks.
It's awesome to see. I mean, it's horrible to hear this stuff, but it's so nice to see that you got it. You figured it out. You're doing it. And I think that now that I've got, 2 girls and I'm in this whole other stage of life, when I hear this, it's like, I need to see this to know that this exists, so that there are good examples and there are people who can do it. And like having girls, especially, I think that it's very, very, very important for them to have these strong women, like to show them that you don't take crap. You need to be independent. You need to be able to stand up for yourself and put your feet down. And stand your ground, because it's so easy to have this happen, and then what do?
Yeah, and you won't see it coming.
Yeah, because
Like,
you're a force to be reckoned with. So for this to happen to you, it can happen with anybody.
yeah, it's programming. It's straight up programming, and it's like a real thing. And the only way to really prepare yourself is to know what it is. And I'd never really understood narcissism, boundaries, codependency, all of these things like I do now. So it's really tough in the moment to know when you're starting to bend for someone. But man, some kind of class about like women empowerment and like helping them know their worth, like something has to percolate from all of the things that have been shifting
Do
in my
you
life.
think that if you didn't bend, that he would have done what he did? Do you know what I mean? Like if you would have just
left, it wouldn't have mattered. I don't think I can fix him. I think I thought I could fix him and I could save us. But knowing that is just like certain things in the brain that are just never going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Being able to walk away from someone like that is very different for me now. But I thought I could fix it. But somehow through him manipulating me to think that I was crazy, it also confused me as to whether or not I was the problem. Mm-hmm. So
it's like that movie. Remember that movie, the girl, or the book, The Girl on the Train, or something like this? Did you ever see that?
I think I've seen that.
It takes place in the UK or something, and she like drinks and then she beats him up or whatever. But that's really not what was happening. He just made it seem like that, like she was being abusive and she was doing all these things, but it was actually him, and he had like a secret affair going on. And I'm going to send you the link.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. I feel like all of that, like the ability for someone who's like a little sociopathic to change the story, they can only do that to people who are like empathic or like are like a little bit of a pushover. And he would always talk about how people can walk all over me. And it's just because like I want to love first, like I want to give and love first, and I've been a little bit like the healer in my family growing up, and maybe I took on some of like parental emotions in order to like fix their problems a little early, and so now I've gotten in the habit of like accepting certain things and just loving to the point, because I like yeah upbringings are tough, but like communication isn't always the best from the past generation.
Yeah, well, once you have kids, I mean, you go through it a little bit with him, but when they're really little too, you start, so much of your past and your childhood and your youth comes up, and it's just like it's insane, because you think you remember a lot of things, but it makes you remember so many things that you didn't even know you knew.
Trippy.
Yeah, it's wild.
So cool. Well, man, I so appreciate your time. Thanks for caring about my story. I think it's really important to share it, because ultimately, like I said, like no one sees this coming, and I think I actually had someone reach out to me who was like dating someone. I don't want to get anyone in trouble here, but like they were like, hey, I'm looking out for my friend. Can you tell me more about this situation? And like the more we can help others, guide them along, if we're seeing some red flags, ultimately your friends aren't going to change your mind. You have to change it for yourself. But I feel like the awareness of these problems is like slowly rising, and it'll give like less power to those who try to manipulate in this way.
So where can you be found?
You can find me at CourtneyGraf.com. That's like all my links are really there. I have some music on iTunes. I'll probably be putting out some more music here soon. Instagram is at CourtneyGraf_. It's GRAF 1F. And yeah, I'm like always collaborating with people and love connecting. And it's been really interesting, like being in so many people's like lives through this financial planning practice that like I get to understand kind of who would fit best with who. So I've been becoming this little connector person too. So it's been really fun, like just like reconnecting with the world after COVID, branching back out from our little bubbles and stories.
Yeah.
It happened.
Well, I'm glad you lived to tell about it, most importantly.
Yeah. Something is coming. I don't know exactly where all this is leading.
It's
but
something
like,
for sure.
I hope there's a purpose in having gone through this pain. And I appreciate people like you who want to hear the story and help me lift the story and raise the vibration of the awareness. So it means the world to me that you want to do this. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for making time.
Yeah.
Be in touch.
So have a blessed rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. See you, Cor.